we give him leverage on Noma's, what's gonna stop that bitch from wanting to kill us? Tell us what this sneaky bitch is up to.
Noma's my client.
The allegiance is with me.
I'm hearing she's making more moves.
I already got a plan for her.
Detective Carter's after you. Killing the cop ain't easy. I don't think we have a choice. Backing down is not an option.
Now, one thing I'm sure we all know when it comes to any Power season is, Episode 8 is normally a huge episode. Whether that's actually the case going into the home stretch for Season 4, which is the final season for Power Book 2 Ghost, let's wait and see. There's still an air of mystery around how they end this season. They've got a lot of storylines that they need to close off in only 3 episodes. They've also introduced a few different storylines over the last 2 episodes, such as Noma having a brother in Nigeria, which is something we are going to touch on in this breakdown. So, as usual, we're going to be running through all the trailer clues, from Tariq and the Tahadas finding their way out from under Carter's thumb, a potential team up with Noma and Kane, to Detective Carter's next move. Some allegiances and positions have also shifted on the chessboard in terms of Davis McLean and Drew. There's also Braden who could be pulling the trigger, and also us learning more about Effie's backstory. We're also going to bring in some scenes from some other teasers and trailers to paint a better picture of a couple of these scenes. But first, let's take a look at the episode title and synopsis for episode 8. Now, the title for episode 8 is Higher Calling, and the synopsis reads: Tariq and Monet try to leverage a way to get out from under Carter. Kane and Drew compete for the streets. An incident with Braden's relationship with Elle sends him off the deep end. Now, what do they mean actually by higher calling? With this episode title, it actually can be interpreted in a few different ways, depending on where you are on the chessboard. For some, it could mean escaping from the game. For example, for Effie, her higher calling would be to escape this life of violence, crime, death, or where she's ended up before, jail. For others, it could mean them having more influence, becoming leaders, or taking on more responsibility. All in all, regardless of which position some of these characters find themselves in, or what they're all striving for, higher calling means wanting to kind of change from your current situation. So in essence, it also requires self-reflection. You might begin to question your moral code, ethics, or your past actions. Everybody's higher calling will be a bit different. But with that being said, let's get into some of these conversations.
If we give him leverage on Noma's, what's gonna stop that bitch from wanting to kill us?
Now, we all know towards the end of 407, Detective Carter figured out the actual connect was Noma. He ordered Monet, Tariq, and Diana to find him some leverage, but Monet tells Tariq if they have this leverage over Noma, what's to stop Noma from killing them too? I think Tariq already knows the answer to that question.
This is Agent Young's evidence against your boss, proving she's a drug supplier.
So if we should get hurt or anything was to happen to us, I've arranged for information to be sent to Anya and the police.
Cooper Saxe taught him even though you may be dead, you can make power moves from beyond your grave. And this move that we saw in 406, it was something from Cooper Saxe's playbook. If she was to kill Tariq or Braden, the information on this flash drive was set up to go straight to law enforcement and also Anya Covington. Now, we do have to remember, Tariq still has this flash drive. Junior Valdez completed an entire investigation into Noma's drug enterprise, and it's all on this flash drive. You also found out Noma has a brother in Nigeria and is still sleeping with Anya Covington. Whether this is something he brings up in conversation, or at least at some point in 9 or 10, I don't think they've mentioned it for no reason. They have to have mentioned it for something. So, let's see if it plays a part on them having leverage on Noma, because even though we do see them having a meeting plotting to bring down Carter, which we are going to come to in detail in just a moment, I think Tariq knows he still needs to figure out a way to bring down both Noma and Detective Carter. That's the only way him and the Tahadas will truly be free, because at the end of the day, both of them are still a threat. Now, if I were in Tariq's shoes, I'd use a tactic that Kanan once used back in Power. Play them against each other, let them take each other out, while he sits back and plots his next move. In Power, Kanan used to play Ghost and Tommy against each other. When Ghost always used to leave the room, he always kind of used to stir the pot a little by telling Tommy, "Why'd you let Ghost speak to you like you're a little kid?" Eventually, he also found his way to making a deal with Jason Michich. So, just like Tasha said, be smart, be strategic, use Law 2 and 26 from the 48 Laws of Power, learn how to use enemies, and keep your hands clean.
Tell us what this sneaky bitch is up to.
Noma's my client.
The allegiance is with me.
Now, we're also going to see Tariq and Monet coming to see Davis McLean to ask for information on Noma, but Davis's response is Noma is his client, and this is something I've been warning all season. It was teased in the official synopsis for Season 4, Davis McLean would be embracing the criminal side of his enterprise, but when he finds himself working for both sides, his loyalty will depend on whichever will benefit him the most. Now, I personally hope that he would stay loyal to Tariq just like Proctor stayed loyal to Ghost, and we do hear Tariq saying his allegiance should be towards him, not Noma. Noma also isn't one of his clients because we all know he's suspended. However, I think by now Tariq genuinely should know better. There are no friends in the street. Based on what we've seen in the past in terms of Davis McLean's shady deals behind Tariq's back, Davis McLean's loyalty was always asking for way too much. At some point, he was always going to do what benefits him, and at this moment in time, him working closely with Noma benefits him more than working as a consigliere to Tariq and the Tejadas. At this moment in time, Tariq can't also pay Davis and neither can Monet, and even though we've seen Davis turn down money in the past, let's see whether he's willing to turn on Noma. Now, does it also mean that Davis runs the risk of potentially catching a bullet? We all know playing both sides is a very dangerous game. It's a risky game in the world of power, so honestly, I wouldn't rule it out. I do think it is a genuine possibility where Davis could be taken off the chessboard, especially if he continues to yo-yo and flirt between the two, making moves that benefit him the most.
Detective Carter's after you. Killing the cop ain't easy. I don't think we have a choice.
Now, at some point in episode 8, we're also going to see this meeting between Tariq, Monet, Noma, and Kane. We hear Kane saying killing a cop isn't easy, with Tariq's response being, I don't think they have any other choice. Ironically, we have two people sitting opposite each other who have killed cops, but I do agree with both. Killing a cop of Detective Carter's magnitude definitely won't be easy, but I also feel like they genuinely don't have any other choice. If they don't, they're also just going to find themselves working for Carter, doing his dirty work, jumping when he says jump, and a whole lot more. Noma and Tariq may not like each other, but they have to figure out a way to work together to get rid of Detective Carter. However, just because they're working together in the short term, I do think Tariq will be thinking about the long game, or at least if he isn't, he definitely needs to. The long game is he still needs to get rid of Noma. Whether he keeps his chess move of the flash drive and whatever he can find in regards to her operation in Nigeria up his sleeve, up until the most perfect moment, let's wait and see. One of the reasons why Ghost was so good was because sometimes he would just kind of sit back and wait for the perfect moment to strike against his enemies. Sometimes he'd let them wait in fear and attack when they least expect it, because he always had a plan. So, let's see what Tariq has up his sleeve. Both Monet and Tariq will know Noma's a problem that has to go eventually, despite what they do with Detective Carter. Now with law enforcement, the NYPD are going to make a move on a van. There are a couple of extra scenes in a few different teasers, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was another one of Noma's shipments. Detective Carter just causing a bit of mayhem and a headache for Noma. We've also got Carter watching a meeting on CCTV, listening on a conversation. Whether he's getting closer to Noma to slap the handcuffs on her or trying to gain some leverage over her, let's wait and see. There is someone wearing blue in what Carter's watching, and the same from Noma in a different scene, so I do think it is potentially a meeting that Noma's having. There's also Drew and Detective Carter in conversation, where it seems like Drew's taken more of a lieutenant role under Carter, just like he wanted. He told Detective Halston that he didn't just want to be an errand boy. In exchange for killing Roman Price, he wanted more of a lieutenant role, and he also wanted Carter to stay away from Monet and Diana. Now on the second part, I do think that is going to be a bit difficult. That's something I don't think Carter would ever agree to, especially after Diana killed Detective Felicia Lewis. Now on Drew and Carter's new kind of found partnership, I do wonder whether this will end up putting him and Kane at odds again. Drew will believe what he's doing working closely with Carter is keeping his family safe, but on the other side, we have all the Tejadas, Tariq and Noma wanting to kill Carter. So, if this is the NYPD attacking another one of Noma's shipments, and if Drew is working closer to Carter to make life a bit more difficult for Noma, I do think we might be getting closer to seeing Kane vs Drew round 2. Now we also hear Carter saying he's got a plan for her as the screen pans over to Noma, so you can only assume he's talking about Noma, maybe hitting one of her shipments as they come in, or maybe it involves Detective Halston. We've got Detective Halston coming to see Noma and Kane in one of these scenes in the trailer for episode 8, but here's where I do think it is worth looking at a different perspective. In 407, Detective Halston did begin to question some of Detective Carter's moves. At first, he wasn't fully convinced that Kamal Tate was taken out by the Russians because it just didn't make any sense. Later on, when they attacked one of the Russian safe houses, he also questioned Carter again, kind of in disbelief. This guy actually killed Kamal Tate? No way. So, I personally don't think he believes Detective Carter, and I do wonder whether or not he could actually flip on his boss, especially if and when he hears about Felicia Lewis's death. One by one, you can see Carter's task force dropping, or potentially even turning on Carter, and I do think they have planted the seeds for Detective Halston to potentially betray Carter. So that's just an alternative perspective to this particular scene. It could be a move made by Detective Carter, or could it be Detective Halston potentially flipping? Now we've also got Tariq telling Brayden backing down isn't an option, with them raiding someone's apartment, with Brayden looking like he's ready to pull the trigger. And is this where his character really begins to start taking a turn, especially if something does happen with Elle? Brayden's also looking like he's wearing the same jumper as he is in this scene where he's at the hospital. So we're about to find out who's put Elle or Rebecca in hospital. Now there's also a very quick scene of Effie in a dorm room where she opens the door with a bit of a shocked expression. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we finally see Effie's mom. She received a call which she dodged at Kane's penthouse, and I do think they are gearing up to give us some more backstory to Effie's character, and maybe potentially humanizing her character over the next episode or so, only to be taken out. So could Effie be a big death in the next episode or two? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, especially because, as I said before, episode 8 in the Power World is supposed to be an explosive episode. Drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.